All right. Well, it's 7:07. I think we'll get started. We have a good group. Before we start, I have a couple announcements. One is that the Robert Frost Poetry Prize contest is open and accepting submissions for this year. And it runs through March 31st. I just posted the link to the frostnewsline.blogspot.com website with the contest rules. There's no submission fee, and but there is a limit on 2 poems that you can submit, two poems maximum, and it has the rules there for how to submit things. It's a limit of 50 lines maximum for the poem, so it's not limit on long poems. But take a look and submit poems, and there's going to be a great group of judges reviewing them. And just historically, every year we get some really, really wonderful poems. We share them on the website, and usually share them on Facebook unless somebody's trying to get them published, and then they say, no, I got to save them. But really some wonderful stuff. So we're hoping to get it out there. So that's one thing. And the other thing, just to note, I don't know if there's anybody on the audience that fits the bill, but North Andover Poet Laureate Committee is looking for members. We have some openings on the committee. If you're interested in helping with poetry in North Andover, let me know. You don't have to be someone who lives in North Andover. So that's my second announcement. The rules for the open mic, I mean, we have a small group tonight, but we're going to do it the way that I've been doing it lately, which is a round robin. So you get one poem, and we'll go around the cycle when we get to the open mic part. If it's a really short poem, if you have 2 like very short poems, you can do 2. But otherwise, 1 poem, and then we'll go around the circle again. I think it makes for a nice variety. All right. So before I introduce our feature, Harry Durso, I thought I would do an icebreaker with another local poet. This is a book by Matt Miller called, if you can see it, it starts to disappear. Tender the River is the name of the book. This guy, Matt Miller, is really good. He is, he's done some really good stuff as a writer. And the one thing that jumps out at me is that he teaches English at Phillips Exeter Academy. But he's really good, Matt Miller. And I've read a few of his poems before. And this book is all, I don't know if you can see it, it has a picture of Lowell over at the Merrimack River. I put the theme out there, the theme of inspiration, and this poem fits that bill because it talks about creation, which is one aspect of inspiration. The Adorned Fathomless Dark Creation. That's the title. The Adorned Fathomless Dark Creation for Joe Meehan. That a woman calculated light could be drawn from collected radio frequencies, so that this world could see the shadow, the sink, the portal out of our observable universe. That this was all over the headlines the day we would wake the man that had been husband, father, grandfather to 2 children, that tiny bees were found in some other woman's eye, feeding off her tears after she'd been plucking weeds from graves during Qingming. That before today, black holes existed only as gaps in data, as engines that turned existence around their absence. That before today, his absence was never a presence, and none of us knew about the sweat bees that nest near graves, inside fallen trees, subsisting on pollen and nectar, but also on our salt, so that as our children kneel beside his casket, maybe it's not the loss, not the gut-empty sick that only death can gift, not the singularity that swallows all, everything, even light. Maybe there's no weeping. Maybe it's only some bees blurring their sight.
Different.
I thought that was great. Definitely pulling things out that I think about, but I don't always get into my poems that way. That was Matt Miller. All right. So our feature tonight is Harry Durso, and I have a little bio for Harry. So Harry, he's a poet from Lawrence, Massachusetts, and now we can say that he's a member of the Robert Frost Foundation, and it's going to be official. Harry taught in the Andover School System, various teaching positions over 30 years. He helped to develop an award-winning television production program at Andover High School. He also worked as a writer, producer, director in the entertainment business. He was a writer for the Emmy Award-winning TV series, The Baxters, and 3 of his episodes are in the collection of the Paley Center for Media in New York City. He has read his poetry at the Monthly Hoots at Cafe Azteca in Lawrence and on Zoom, and has also produced and hosted an evening of poetry with the students of Andover High School for the last 11 years. And the event is typically shown on local cable access stations in the Merrimack Valley. His poem, Lawrence Down, which depicted the horrors of the Merrimack Valley gas explosion in 2018, was chosen by the Lawrence History Center to become part of the historical record and archive of the event. The poem was read publicly on North Andover Cable by poet Gail Henney and at the community read at the Lawrence Public Library. He participates in the monthly open mics and reads some great poetry. He was invited by Bob Whelan to read at the Rockport Poetry Festival of Global Voices in 2021, which featured poets from 23 countries. And that's a chance to plug Bob Whelan's annual event, something well worth tuning into. In fact, it's like, I don't know, 18 hours of poetry as he goes around the time zones of the world. So look for that. And Harry is currently putting the finishing touches and edits on 2 of his poetry collections entitled Biker on the Merrimack and 3 Songs. So I'd like to introduce Harry Durso. And what I asked Harry to do his poems in 2 blocks. So we'll have a first set, and then we'll do some open mic, and then we'll come back around for Harry's second set, okay?
Sounds good. Okay, Mark, should I go?
Go ahead.
Just tell me when you want me. I have them pretty much divided in half, so you just tell me when you want me to take the break, okay, Mark?
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. I want to thank you for inviting me here tonight. Obviously, it's been a great honor to be a feature, and I want to thank the Robert Frost Foundation and former leaders, Mark Shore and Jessica Sanchez. They were big help in me developing my early part of my career. And to Greg Waters, who's my editor, who works with me. I'm very fortunate to have these people in my past and present. And I thank you, Mark and Jim Knowles, for all the work you do for the Robert Frost Foundation. I've been really appreciating that. Okay, so I like to start my first poem with the title of my first collection called Biker on the Merrimack. The old biker stood on the dock smoking a butt on the Merrimack, looking out with eyes fixed about what went right, what went wrong, the few smiles. His wife's look when she knew the cancer had won. The face of the cop who pulled him over when his son OD'd. His daughter, the nurse's anger when she hates him with only her eyes. Killing a Nam until God didn't care anymore. The oil leak on the Harley. The angry landlord back home. Totally lost in the river's gentle breeze. Every puff his entire lifetime. Something leaving him as the river flows by. He snuffs out his butt and holds back a tear. It has all been okay, he guessed. Just okay. The next one is a very short one, but from my early days. Hope. Hope is such a fragile word. It's only 4 letters, you know. We hope when we pray, and we hope for better days. We hope to find love, and we hope that it doesn't go away. We hope when we marry, and we hope when we say goodbye. We hope to live a long time, and we hope to experience joy. We hope that our children are happy, and we hope that their children are happy too. We hope that our friends don't lie, and we hope that we can forgive them when they do. We hope when we need money, and we hope when we need a hug. We hope almost all our days. Hope is such a fragile word. It's only 4 letters, you know. The next one is called Flight to
Really
Nowhere.
Nice, Harry.
Thank
That was great.
Thank you. Thank you. I have big introductions to these, but I'm going to consolidate that for time, give everybody more time. All of these are really based on real incidents. That's how I write. And they're all provoked either by a picture I've seen in front of me, like the biker on the Merrimack, or things that have happened to me experientially. The next one is called Flight to Nowhere. I confessed my sins to an Uber driver the other night, too drunk to know the difference between man and priest, as he listened to his books on tape and told me how Kennedy was a god and that tantric sex was great, and how he met this beautiful girl who used him only for his ability to listen to her cry, and that the novel he was writing was only going to happen when he faced the fact that my sins would make for a better book, and that I was about to miss my flight to nowhere. Bartenders and Uber drivers hear all the sins in the world. The next one was I was visiting a friend at a nursing home, and a woman came in on a wheelchair, and she said to me, "I don't know who I am, and I don't know who you are, but can you take me down to dinner?" And it just struck me as something very touching when she said that to me, because I got it. And I wrote this about her when I got home. Pay her no mind. She cried differently that day, a day scribed to be unknown, a day that could have gone either way, a day that said her mind was gone forever. What would happen to the cookie recipe, or the way she folded in her eggs so they wouldn't burn? Where would her love letters go, or memories of the husband she loved to touch? Today she sits in a wheelchair, nameless I presume, looking out a window that goes on forever, unable to tell a story that is even true. She cried differently that day, a day scribed to be unknown, a day that could have gone either way, a day that said her mind was gone forever. The next one is about my father.
Thanks, Harry. That was good.
Thank you. I was cleaning the basement and I ran into his hard hat, and I was very emotional when I saw it. And it hadn't been touched since he left it there before he died. And I just was overcome, and I wrote this poem, Hard Hat. My father's hard hat sits on a forgotten shelf peacefully, his name and marker on the front. When he last put it down for a time that did not come, now covered in 40 years of dust, telling stories at the coffee truck in the cold, filled with pride about a son off to college, to carry so many dreams of father and son. A winter walk on steel up ahead in the afternoon sky, a hot meal and a wife he kissed passionately every day, right when he got in the door. Thinking of the saved up cup of coffee in a bent thermos that sat in a sack that would allow him to feel the sunset in peace, surrounded by the cold. Such a peaceful life. The hard hat now tells all the stories in a silent world that pays attention. My father is not in the cold anymore. One day he took me up on the high steel, and guess what? I didn't take to it very nice. I didn't take to it very nicely. Shakespearean scholars aren't very good at high steel. Even though he told me there's a net that'll catch you 2 stories down, didn't really impress me that much. And he was jumping from girder to girder, and jumping and dancing. And I was just holding on to a girder. So I was so disappointing to him at that time, but I think he understood. The next one is about 2 old ladies I ran into at McDonald's, and they had these big purses that were made out of material like carpet. They must have been at least 100 years old. They were the oldest women I've ever seen in my life. And they were sitting in a corner having French fries. and they were acting like they had just been taken to the moon. This was so fantastic for them. And I wrote this: two old ladies eating at McD's, sharing some fries on a cold winter day. Streaks of loneliness mark their cheeks as the years they have lived roll out of their eyes. The husband's touch just a memory, as their will alone gives them each life for one more day. Pictures of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren clutter their favorite old worn purses as they carefully decide to have an ice cream and delay whatever reality there's left for them for a few more moments, so the pain of old age can be forgotten for a while and nothing can hurt them anymore.
Beautiful.
The next one was quite profound. I was helping my friend out at his garage, and I used to talk to the customers, and one of the customers was there. We were talking, and in the course of conversation, he told me that he was instrumental in getting man on the moon, and it just blew me away. And I wrote this poem that night. It's called Almost the Moon. The old man's crisp white shirt stuck out as he waited for his car in the waiting room of the garage on a hot day. Boredom made him reach out to me with random talk about his classic Riviera, his love of poetry. Career talk followed about our attempts of making a living. After some excuses about my current disability, I asked him in return. Retired MIT astrophysicist, he told me. I put man on the moon, he said with bold pride. The boredom and hot sun disappeared. I put man on the moon resonated, hit me like a punch in the gut. He put man on the moon. As the shop's air conditioner labored away, he grabbed the ball and explained the math involved in hitting a target in the distance, a trigonometric function for every single second, speed, velocity, altitude, ever changing. He did the math so complicated back then on a blackboard with white chalk and his brilliant mind working together. Just a man who put man on the moon with a beloved Buick on the lift. I wondered about Christ and his disciples looking at the moon on the shore of Galilee as they ate fish by the fire. Did Christ ever think that man would go there? Did he know? I thought of the Greek and Roman soldiers sleeping on a bloody battlefield. When they saw the moon, did they think man would leave footsteps there? I thought of Plato and Shakespeare. Did they ever dream of another bard speaking 10 words while standing on the moon that would be heard by the entire earth at once and forever? I wondered about all the world's explorers looking up from their wooden ships into the sky as they navigated by the stars. Did they dare to think of other explorers walking on the moon? Their own accomplishment so bold for their own time. It is a fact too amazing for me to measure along with the humble facts of my own life. I sit back and look at the newspaper, overwhelmed by sitting next to living history, a person whose contribution to the legend of mankind is so great it makes me gasp. Yet I wonder, as the headlines grab me by the throat, why our planet is crumbling around us, why peace disappears so fast, or the fact that our own society has learned to hate the idea of another person enough to shoot and kill randomly every 2 weeks, like an expected, unexplained explosion of random violence that leaves decent people dying on the street and in bloody shopping carts, screaming why a million times because no one answers. A realization that God might have become deaf to a selfish world, not hearing any more from a group that devotes their life to buying online and texting nonsense all day. So many people dying. Wouldn't stopping it be the greatest accomplishment for mankind? Wouldn't it be almost the moon?
Oh, that's great. That's a great poem.
Thank you, Mark. I watch the news every night and I just think of that. You know, the thing of Christ looking up at the moon to me and the Roman soldiers, and how would they ever fathom that? You know, how could they ever even conceive of that? And yet it happened in our lifetime. The next poem, I was in the hospital and it's a long story, but my memory was coming back to me and I remembered this happening to me 50 years after it happened. And I had not thought about it once in the last 50 years before. And I'm in bed and I woke up and this is what I wrote down. Notre Dame. She, my redheaded freshman in college, girlfriend, wanted to go to Notre Dame. She had 12 brothers and sisters in an Irish family who lived in a rambling, big, happy house covered with vines. She wanted to transfer right away. She told me in passing as we sat at the movies watching Butch and Sundance. She invited me for dinner the next day, and I sat with her family, sharing our food over 2 tables. Mother and father clearly in charge, as the Norris milk dispenser gave out milk like a beer keg. And everyone smiled and was polite, and how the dinner prayer was recited so rapidly so the food would not get cold. I laughed when we would have her little brother come on a date with us to John's bar, where a bowl of popcorn satisfied the boy as we talked over greasy cheeseburgers and 15-cent beers and wondered about what directions we would go in life. Our youth so full of hope and joy. It outshined the inherent sadness of our surroundings. She wanted to meet one night for no reason, and we walked on campus so innocently and pure. Our lives had not been set in stone, all possibilities and no regrets. The school building's giant fairy tale stone castles from another time, a romantic setting, stumbled upon on an odd night. I would look at her as we teased each other in fun, her face so innocent. She could have been a Madonna in a school play. This nothing night as we ran to a bus shelter to get out of the stormy weather, rain, and winter rain. She got inside, tears and a smile suddenly coming out of her, like a living bad secret. She would be leaving the next day. She got in and was sure that every dream would come true at Notre Dame. She kissed me with lips quivering. She told me that the life I offered her was not enough. There would be no long distance romance. Our held hands became cold as the night chill came in. She wanted to kiss me again, but I refused as she said goodbye and ran away, not knowing that this night would come to me 50 years later, in a broken dream when I called out her name and felt her gentle red hair, knowing that I wanted to kiss her again, and wondering if she ever once thought of me, whether her dreams had all come true. My dream would have been better, but how could I really know? I still felt the cold rain from that night in my dream, so cold knowing for sure that I would never see her again, except as an old man fighting off sleep, as memories randomly fled back to me, as I longed to kiss her that one last time, and I rested by the light of the monitors and waited for the nurse to bathe me in the morning.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You want to do one more in this set and then?
Yeah,
okay.
That'd be great. This one, I saw this item on TV of people in a food line in Lawrence by the YMCA. And I saw a woman standing in line, and she was an older woman. And the look of her face, she was staring at this stack of boxes of chickens. And it was so odd to see fresh chickens out in the sun, but they had these chickens out, and it was a cold day, so they probably figured they would be safe. And the look on her face as she stared at those chickens. And I wrote this poem, Chickens in the Sun. The older woman hated the sun. Her life has been in darkened rooms since her only son died. Suddenly, both single forever, she was now alone. Her caregiver came to see her every day, and when there was time, they would have tea and play a quick game of 45s. But then the darkness set in like a monster. Her son would visit her and take her for rides to the beach, even in the winter, where they would feed seagulls and eat clams and beach pizza. Her husband and his father never existed. Alcohol and drugs decided to kill them both without a jury trial. After an abridged version of hell, they both disappeared in a flash, but now there was no one to visit. The woman in the downstairs tenement would always cook for her, not too much, but a little plate of heaven when she remembered to cook. But now she was locked into descending dementia and kept the TV on 24 hours a day as her only way to hear a human voice. She would make a plan. She would go to the YMCA and get a free box of food. She saw it on TV, open to anybody, and she would split it with the woman downstairs. She would cook for her now. It was better than sitting with the shades down. She woke up early the next day, and with 3 sweaters, she got to the line a few blocks away, talking to no one but God. What caught her eye first were the chickens in the sun. She hoped it was cold enough so they would not spoil. She saw them giving out 2 chickens, each from the boxes piled on the sidewalk. She fumbled with her mask so COVID wouldn't kill her, and made a plan to carry the food home. She would go from car trunk to car trunk and rest, afraid to get mugged. She just had her keys with her, no handbag, nothing to impede her journey of mercy and hope. For 2 people so alone, her aloneness screamed at her at night, like a squeaky door never stopping, always there, annoying and brutal in its simplicity. She never got enough food, and now had to cook every meal herself. Her mother warned her, the kitchen has your own germs, even though she realized that she was now older than her mother ever lived. A fact that puzzled her, but she still listened to her. The woman on the 3rd floor was much younger and still worked, and would sometimes drop off some fried fish and chips on Fridays, a treat she would savor by eating small bites and making it last for 2 days. But now she was just focusing on the chickens in the sun. She hoped they would still be fresh when it was her turn. They quickly gave her 2 chickens, and the box was heavy with much needed food. A few people offered to help her, but she refused and went from car to car, placing the box on each car trunk like an altar clock. According to her plan, as she pulled her mask down to breathe every time, she made the sign of the cross to get home safe. She quickly made it home and up the stairs and made the chicken right away, in the oven with potatoes and peas and onions, just like her mother made back when she was a girl, and would listen to her about everything. It was too bad she left the help part out. She should have been warned about life's dark turns. They put a whole pie in the box too, which made her smile. And when everything was cooked, she wrapped up 1 chicken for a downstairs neighbor. She knocked and knocked, but she was gone. An ambulance had come, the 3rd floor neighbor yelled down the stairs. She then climbed the stairs slowly to put her neighbor's chicken in her own refrigerator with her name on it, hoping she was still alive and would avoid being caged. She needed to be free. She thought to herself, if her neighbor dies, the house would be sold, and she would end up in the slavery of a nursing home, pretending to be nice for the rest of her life. The thought made her cold inside. She heated up her own dinner now and sat by the window to see the sunset on the factory down the street and the countless tenements glowing in the lost sun, each tenement with 1,000 stories to never be told. She quietly enjoyed her meal, and the pie made her smile again. She cut a big piece. It reminded her of happy times. She then prayed for her friend with her well-worn rosary and went in the parlor to watch TV. Maybe she would keep the TV on all night for company, but just one night, so she wouldn't be alone. And the world would go on, and she would put all the lights on too, and sleep in the light for maybe just one night. She vowed never to be in the dark again. She made another plan. She would go out in the morning and buy a few candy bars at the bodega on the corner. She needed a reason to smile every day, and she slept after making her new plan, thinking of the chickens in the sun, and how she made it home that day, and how the pie she ate made her smile. With the lights on and hearing forced laughter on her TV, she got up to have another piece of pie and made a list of candy bars she would have as a child to buy in the morning cold. She would make herself smile again. If only her mother had warned her, she would have made other plans. If only the loneliness would leave her alone for a while, and she could sweep it out with a broom. But life was not that simple at all. And she slept, praying and thinking of the chickens and the sun.
Oh, Gary, great.
Thank you.
You know, I was just thinking, your poems have this like cinematic feel to them, but it's not even accurate to say that they're cinematic. They're just real. They're just real, Harry. They're really wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Yeah.
It's an emotional experience to even recite them. I mean, I just see the people in my head when I recite them. And I think that's a good way for art to be. It makes it all real. It makes it real for me as well as you. And it's very hard to hit on that. You know, I find it a very mysterious process, but thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
really
you for
wonderful.
that.
Right.
Thank
You
you.
definitely capture moments in history, you know, which is what a poem can do. I mean, different people have talked about that, how a poem captures and crystallizes a moment, a feeling, an image, whatever it is. But yours capture people and stories. So thank you. So Harry, I'd like you to do a second set, but before you do, I'd like to read a poem of mine as kind of an intro, if you will.
Okay.
And
Sure.
here we go. When you knelt and kissed the stage at Madison Square Garden. Today is your first headline show at MSG. We are at this hall, hallowed by music, music that raised the rafters above. We still hear the echo. I bow before no one, though I worship the ground on which you walk. I tell myself again, I will not bow before you. You and the band bound onto the stage to cheers, applause, the roar. I am with the multitude. Then you stop. You kneel facing us. You kneel to the stage. You kiss the stage. I know what you're doing. I know what this is. You bow before the holy. You hear the echoes of the voices that have come before, that hallowed this place. You kiss the stage. Now I wish to bow. I bow. But I bow before the God that you bow before. Who is your God? Who is your muse? We seek the same God. We seek the same muse. In the hall tonight, you join the multitude. Let us pray.
Good.
That was inspired by what Brandi Carlile did with her band September 14th, 2019, where that was their first headline show at Madison Square Gardens. And she came out to the cheers and she knelt down and kissed the stage. And it was just a wonderful image of respect to all the performers who had been there before. It was so beautiful. So that was a real thing. It was great. So anyway, so Harry, when you're at Madison Square Garden, I'll be there, okay?
All right. That's a deal. That's a deal, Mark. I'm having a good time tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to begin again with a poem called The Looks on Their Faces. I think we were all taken with the escape from Afghanistan we saw on TV. I was very struck by people hanging onto a plane that they were going to fall off and die, and it was better than what they were leaving behind. To me, that struck me. And I saw these people going onto a transport plane and the looks on their faces. And I wrote this poem, The Looks on Their Faces. As people escape from Afghanistan, they walk slowly up the ramp of a giant US military cargo plane, a scene that could have been taken from a futuristic movie as the residents of one civilization leave for another world. But this is now, and their sadness is explosive. This is what loss looks like. You could see that they were experiencing a million emotions at once. How do you leave family and friends, businesses and property? How can you leave the local market that sells just the right food? Or the corner shop where the owner knows you? Or the smell of the food cooking on your own stove? Or the sound of your children playing at your feet? How do you leave a lifetime behind as you hold your children who haven't lived yet and who will remember nothing of the world they once ruled, but which is now forbidden their future? This is the final act of courage that will close all past doors and open only one. But where are they going? They don't know if there will be food or shelter. They don't know if they will be safe from hatred again. The new world is not defined. It can be only any world, really, an unknown. The American soldiers are firm but kind. They hold babies and children as they also hold guns that are meant to kill. They pour water over the suffering to cool them down, but they just can't tell them where they are going. No one knows anything because every breath of life is being ransomed now. So hundreds sit on the floor of a plane meant to carry cargo and pray to whatever God who will listen. They do not know if freedom is worth the sacrifice, but behind them would be eventual death. They know that this is better than death. It should be. They look into the men and women saving them and wonder why they are there at all. If only a time machine could change all this. They must now hope first for water and food, that their children will survive the trip, and that the people on the other side will love the people who have now lost everything, who will be branded forever by the looks on their faces. That's it.
Oh, thank you.
They'll stay with me forever. I see the people starting to come in. I remember when I was a boy in Lawrence, that people who escaped Cuba came to Lawrence. The church has sponsored them. And I remember the looks on their faces when they came in. And many of them had walked away from businesses and all kinds of lives in Cuba and came here with nothing. And they brought them into the grammar school so they could learn English. And I always stayed with me how frightening that was for them back then. The next one is about my friend Anthony. He's a surfer, and we had that recent cold snap, and he was still out there surfing in the morning. He made sure he called me to make sure that he lived up to this poem. So it's called Ice Face. My friend Anthony surfs the Atlantic on the rugged New Hampshire coast at sunrise almost every day. Before he goes to work, in winter he goes out in below zero weather. And a photographer took his picture and put it in a surfing magazine. His entire face was covered with ice, and icicles hung from his eyes like a creature from a horror movie. How can a human being be out in the ocean seeing his breath crystallize in front of him? As the lights of the shops on the shore turn on for another day, and the sea air is filled with an icy fog that makes the place seem like from another planet. I asked him why, and he told me he learns things out there. I wonder if he saw his twin sons climbing the obstacle course he built for them in the trees in the backyard on their way to the stars. Or does he think of growing up in the tenements of Lawrence, running back to his house with a hot loaf of Tripoli bread, with the entire street smelling of Italian food so delicious that its smell alone brutally defied the poverty that it came from? Or was it the day he bought his first backhoe and he picked me up, and I hung off the back for dear life as he drove through the center of town, beeping his horn with a joy so bright it outshined the sun? Or does he think of nothing and just has peace, alone on the edge of human existence, where he can hear God among the sounds of the waves and the seagulls coming to life, and his own heart beating as he tries to keep his body warm until the truck heater is put on high on his way to work? I think the lesson Anthony teaches me is that we need to find a way to stretch our hands and minds to God each day in our own way. I know he was out in the ocean this morning that I wrote this poem. I know that he was learning something. I also know that he has peace on most days, because the ocean is a great teacher. If you listen, we all must listen. We are all on our own oceans today. We should listen then before the ice covers our face and there's nothing left to learn. How am I doing for time, Mark?
Good. You want to read one or two more?
Yes.
I want to make sure Bob Whelan gets his Harry Durso fix.
All right. All right. I want to. All right. Let me do this one called "As It Snows," because it's pertinent. So we're going to have a snowstorm on Saturday. The new snow comes at odd times. As it snows, it sends me a message. It reminds me of the past, walking to midnight mass with my family from my grandfather's historic brick ivy-covered home, with the snow piled over my head. And at 5, not a care in the world except whether Santa could still find me there. And how warm it would be sleeping on some blankets with my cousins on the floor by the flame of the kerosene stove. We walked by the pre-Revolutionary War English brick houses, now surrounded by the tenements of the mill workers who built the economy of America in the wood mills of Lawrence. History down every street as the cold air pushed us to our religious destination. Soon we heard the Christmas carols from the choir, filling the night as we got closer. It was the sound of Christmas frozen in the air that night. I can still hear it now. It was such a perfect, clear night, a perfect Christmas night. As it snows, I think of a memory of my sister and I with our heavy wooden flexible flyer sleds going down the hill beside our childhood home, as if God planned the joy we had those days. Until totally frozen after 1,000 runs, we went in to warm up with a hot bowl of stew and dumplings that my mother made, as our woolen gloves clumped with ice thawed out on the hissing steam radiator, with the two of us feeling the contentment of 1,000 miracles, as we excitedly planned on building a snowman before it got dark. As it snows, I think of the time I hit a blizzard coming back on a train from working in New York City. I tried to sleep as the poorly train conductor kept yelling, "It's getting bad out there," all the way from Stamford to Boston. Getting off at a deserted station outside the city, I faced a 2-story stairway covered with ice as the only way down to my car. With no help around, another bewildered woman and I tossed our briefcases down first. And then we went down on our backsides together, laughing like 2-year-olds at the sheer silliness of it all, and hoping that we would not get injured in our desperateness to get home. I was still laughing as I found my car buried under a drift. I was still laughing as I found my car buried under a drift and digging out with a stiff piece of cardboard by the disapproving headlights of a police car. I then became the only car on the unplowed interstate, following the tracks of a blurry snowplow up ahead, with my big gray caddy winning a card game as it skated across the lanes like a champion ice skater. Until finally home, I dumped my car, skidding into my front yard bushes, and crawled into the house, grateful to be alive. And there are 1,000 more stories I can't remember right now. As it snows, it brings it all back every time. We are blessed as we see the snow fall each time. It doesn't tell us what it is yet, or give us the secrets of the upcoming winter. It lets us decide when it should be asked, what it will mean to us this year.
Beautiful. Memory is
Thank
a
you.
wonderful thing. And sometimes,
Now,
go ahead.
go ahead. Now, I was going to end with the two children. Do I have time for that?
Yes.
Okay. I think we've all been taken with the loss of these children. One's still missing, one was found dead. And it still bothers me a lot. I devoted my whole life to working with children. And to me, this is heartbreaking. And I think this memory of these children so far is still haunting me. So I want to end with this. The first one was about Elijah, who they found deceased. And they recently found out his parents had tortured him. Imagine a boy this beautiful being tortured. Elijah was missing 30 days. His body was found in a shallow grave in the woods by a cadaver dog who got rewarded by playing with a frisbee for finding a dead body. An autopsy would tell us how he died, but I want to know how he lived. I want to know if he was in a school yet and had a crush on the little girl at his table with a smile just like his. I want to know what he thought when he looked out the window on a snowy day. I want to know if he had lights on his sneakers or what his favorite pizza was. I want to know his favorite superhero or whether he liked ketchup on his fries. I want to know when the last time he was really hugged, when he had a decent meal, or what he felt like when he realized that the monsters he thought were under his bed were real. I want to know when he first got scared and couldn't figure out why he was being hurt by the people who were supposed to love him. I want to know how he lived and what he dreamt about being when he grew up. I will never know these answers, why people around him couldn't see the call for help in his eyes. It had to be there. I want Elijah to know the world will miss him. And we were all sorry we couldn't save him. I hope he meets his favorite superhero in heaven. Maybe God will give him a dog to play with. Maybe he can get fries in heaven too with all the ketchup he wants. Why not? Elijah has to find happiness somewhere. He did not find it here, though he should have. This boy should have been a happy place for a boy with a beautiful smile. And the last one I'm going to end with is for this beautiful girl, Harmony, who's been missing for 2 years, which is something so audacious and so crazy that I still can't fathom it. They tracked it down to the last 10 days they saw her alive. 2 years ago. How can you miss a girl for 2 years? It's called She's Somewhere. Harmony is missing for 2 years. Her father hasn't seen her. Her stepmother hasn't seen her. Her great uncle hasn't seen her. Her biological mother hasn't seen her. None of her teachers have seen her. Her social worker hasn't seen her. The crossing guard hasn't seen her. The school bus driver hasn't seen her. Her pediatrician hasn't seen her. Her dentist hasn't seen her. Her friends haven't seen her. Her friends' mothers haven't seen her. Her friends' brothers and sisters haven't seen her. Her cousins haven't seen her. Her neighbors haven't seen her. Harmony has been missing for 2 years. If a child is missing for a few minutes, everyone panics. I suppose 2 years is nothing for any of these people. They thought she was somewhere else, and they were right. Harmony, you've been gone a lifetime and nobody noticed. How could this be for a star so bright? Shine wherever you are. This world was not bright enough to save you. An angel was looking for you now. I know that for sure. The angel was told to look for your smile. You'll be found. I'm sure you are somewhere. That's it.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Mark, for the opportunity. It's been a great pleasure tonight.
Really, really wonderful stuff.
Thank you.
I know that I really needed what I heard tonight from you and everybody. But we're going to do the open mic now, and we're going to do a round robin. So let's do a round robin, doing it based on the order that people showed up. Okay. And so Chuck Joy is up first. If you have something, Chuck, I'm betting you do.
Jackpot. Yeah. I'm enjoying this method of presenting with the sections of feature and the round robin. So I might even be looking forward to another round. Choosing poems is interesting, and this one was chosen sort of from the weather and reflecting where I am, which is in the Great Lakes region. It's a 2-part poem, Beyond Their Horizon. 1. I am present at my desk, my own familiar house, incense burning from a shelf, the radio turned off. A window closed shows frozen snow, bare trees, a lake beyond their horizon. When that lake freezes solid, I will walk across to Canada. My small but not unprecedented black shape emerging from the bleak surround, climbing ashore to an empty beach, my greeting, a gull screaming. 2. The road inland, long and sad, a narrow road veined with tar, snow-logged fields in both directions. I knock at a cottage, no one answers. Finally, an old black truck approaches, slows, stops. Side window cranks open, lyrics spill out. Lava flowing in super farmer's direction. The driver, a woman, leans toward me. I explain my accomplishment. When she tells me she's headed for Toronto, I tell her, me too. Dropped off on Bloor near Spadina. Not sure exactly where I want to go. Everything closed except the farmer's market. By then it's 5:30, and that's when I wake up. Thank you.
Wow, great. Thank you. Wow. Wonderful. All right. Steve Sohigian, you are up next, and do a poem. And we'll on the round robin.
Yep. This is one that the writing prompt that I looked at suggested. It's in Venice, Italy. There's a Juliet Club. People send like, you know, love forlorn to this organization. Like, they're all over the world, and they answer these love letters, and they post the letters on a big wall. And that was my inspiration for this poem. Wall of Hearts. Roses fair and scarlet posed against wall. Beard of souls wailing in the calming swell. Fair Verona. Oh yeah, that's right. Long since distilled of love, brought forth by the stars distraught from above. Tear-stained thoughts inked in throngs of passion share on yonder red-stained bricks now set with care. Velvety words versed in torrent tirade of feats of love grandiose and then frayed. Lost in time's abyss and sealed with youth's kiss. Rhymes flowing from chambers pumping with bliss. Astral abstracts laced in stony vineyard, now gauntlets thrown to where voices now heard. Seashells echo maiden's heart to a port in which a wayward Romeo may court, fleeting as the summer rain upon field of dainty dandelions until kneeled, lost in carousels of dreams of hope bright and embraced by passion and candlelight, wicks flickering and flashing of some chance of lovers crossed by stars, now pairs that dance, hearts whimpering in a low monotone, lost in an ocean moored in a moor stone. Pray hear anon a call to revelry, to new song, to fair Venus, to love be. Yeah, I forgot it's Verona. That's right.
Wow. Oh, that was great. Thank you. Oh. All right. Well, it was going to be Jason next, but he dropped off and tried to get back in several times and was not able to get back in. So I don't know what was going on with Zoom. So unfortunately, Jason's not here. Joan, do you have something you'd like to read?
Oh, I'm just here. I'm just bathing in the words. And Harry was just so beautiful, especially, it's just been a very tough week. We lost my dear closest cousin and my best friend. So I'm just here listening, and it's just so beautiful. And Harry, you're just a jewel to all of us. We're just so lucky to have you. And I'm just glad to be here. So I'm just listening, but next time, sweetie. Good to see everyone though.
Well, thank you. And I'm sorry to hear that. I hope things are all right and that you can find comfort.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
You're really beautiful. Thanks. It really helped me. I was like, I can't even think. And I'm like, your words just sort of surrounded me like a blanket. It was really beautiful.
That makes me feel so good, John. Thank you so much. Get better, okay?
You guys make it easy. It's nice to have you guys as friends.
We're lucky too.
All right. Actually, I know you're not reading tonight, but I see a poem of yours in. It's the problem with this screen thing.
Right. I would have read it if I was functional, but yeah, it was pretty exciting. It's a really neat book. I think everyone should read that book because there's a lot of great people in it, even Joy Harjo, and just a lot of great poems. So it's pretty cool. And Lee Friedman's in it too.
Yeah. Exactly. So I want to do. You're reminding me to do a plug for the book.
Plug. Yes.
So this is a book called Reimagine America, an anthology for the future. It's put out by Vagabond Press. I'll put the link in there, but it's some great poetry that challenges a lot of conventional wisdom in this country, and boy, it's something that we need. They did another one a couple of years ago called Extreme, and it had to do with climate change and the state of politics, and also was a really good collection. So something worth looking for. All right, next. So we have Jim Knowles.
All right. So I was reading about you. You were talking about a poem that is inspired by something, but I think that's 95% of everything that I have. So I have.
Next month, we're going to do poems that are not inspired.
Oh, not inspired.
Go ahead.
That's pretty drab. I don't know how I can do that. Well, I have ones I started out random, but then they get inspired. Anyway, but there's melancholy memories, and there's escapism. So I escape sometimes into film noir, detectives. So one of these detectives by a group called Firesign Theater inspired me. So I did a couple of those with the music background. But I haven't done that for a while. So let's see. Let's go to Ashes of the Night. See if I can find the recording here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, geez. Hang on. I started recording, hopefully not over the thing. Dang. Wow. I'll get there. Just a sec.
It's worth it, everyone. It's worth it.
Oh, man. It's like you have to figure the menu system each time if it's been a while. Built-in memory. There we go. Folder 1. All kinds of. It's been a while since I did something with the music. Ashes of the Night. Yeah. Get the music.
Wow.
That was Dirk Yogurt as Dick Private Dick.
Dick Noir.
Dick Noir. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
We're all sifting the ashes,
There's some wild images in there. Awesome.
I couldn't find the one with Rudy.
Well, Bob, you're up next. Oh, no, actually, Mary Pritchard, do you have a poem you'd like to read?
No, I'm just here to enjoy and see what you all are doing. That last one, I thought I could have been on Prairie Home Companion.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting, really interesting to see the breadth of poems that have been coming up tonight. So thank you all. I'm actually going to make dinner, so I'm going to be listening, but I'm going to stop my video.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. All right, Bob Whelan, you are next. And we're doing a round robin where everyone does a poem. So if you have a short one, the direction was you can do two short ones if you wish. So that's your spot.
Okay, Harry, I had to pick up my daughter from play practice, and I was cooking and got so involved in it, I totally forgot you were reading tonight. And I got something on the stove, but it shut off. I had to come up. I'm sorry I missed you.
It's okay.
Actually,
I think they recorded it.
Yeah, I recorded it, but also he's doing he did a first set. He's going to come back for a second set. So
Great.
Thank you, Bob.
And Joan, condolences. I'm sorry to hear that it's a difficult time.
Oop, we lost your voice.
Did you hear me before when I was?
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I get stuck in my head. Lost connection. Travelers have different freedoms. Conversations can be more truthful, perhaps. The someones you meet may be no ones, or will likely never be someone's again. Words shared are the scripts of an adventure, without burden, for there is no need to carry on. It began as notable things sometimes do, with simple serendipity. A misread ticket held by an adamant pilgrim, who by occupying your place, had you fill the empty space beside me. And so we embarked. A journey once measured in months, today would be measured in hours, yet still would cover lifetimes. Above the clouds, we talked as if we were observing angels, considering events tethered to the earth, the turmoil of family, the transience of lovers, the various expectations of men and women, the measured treasure of attachment, deciding when to stay and when to go. Devoid of pretense, without agendas, free of the need to gain or the fear of loss. And then we touched down. Walking down the hallways towards the exit, your hand on my sleeve was not quite a surprise as you pulled me closer to you. No one noticed the lingering embrace, a loving caress, a gentle kiss. Airports are full of encounters. It is a temple to the constant emotions of hellos and goodbyes. Words were no longer necessary. You returned to reclaim your baggage, and I left to find a connection.
Thank you.
That's an old one, Harry. I was thinking of you and poems that tell a story. So that was my homage.
Okay, that's a good story. Good for you. Good for you. We're a bunch of hopeless romantics, everybody, tonight.
Could be.
The world could use more of that.
COVID has turned us into bubbling romantics. We'll start a new movement tonight, Mark.
Did you say blubbering?
Yes,
Oh,
blubbering
tears.
romantics. Myself included.
That's all right. That's all right. What I'd like to do is give people, if you have another poem that you'd like to read, we'll go around the open mic again. I guess the only request I have is if you could pick a short one, that would be good. I think that would be a nice way to wrap things up for people who'd like to read another poem. Okay. And in order, if you wish, Chuck, do you have a poem?
I do, Mark, thanks. And Harry, that was terrific. I'm blessed to have been here tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This poem is called Voracious. The furry bird loves to eat every meal and occasion, savoring every grain and scrap, picking at bones when there are bones. The furry bird might spend an hour or even days feasting abstemiously, but every meal comes to an end. Satisfaction, however great, fades over time. Slowly hunger returns. Tomorrow's nut, buried under fallen leaves. A delicious worm halfway across that sidewalk. Thank you.
Oh, that was good. Thank you. Steve Sohigian.
Yes, I got one. It's one of my parody ones.
All right.
COVID days. Yes, it's the, Yesterday by Beatles. COVID days, all my COVID seems so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in better days. Suddenly I'm not laughing like I used to be. There's a virus hanging over me. Oh, COVID day came suddenly. Why it had to blow, I don't know. It wouldn't say I did nothing wrong. Now I long for a better day. COVID day love was such a queasy game to play. Now I need my face to hide away. Oh, I believe in COVID day. Why it had to blow, I don't know. It wouldn't say I did nothing wrong. Now I long for better days. COVID days was such a queasy game to play. Now I need my face to hide away. Oh, I believe in better days.
I love those poems of yours. Thanks, Steve. Jim Knowles, do you have another one you'd like to read? I see you have the goggles on, or the shades. Oh, you're muted. Oh, still muted.
All these panels. All right, well, it's I guess it goes with music, so it's probably shorter than it seems. Anyway.
You're looking like a rap music producer, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I try to get a vacant hotel, I just go for some shop stuff. And all right, so this is another musical escapist thing. Let's see if I can line this up. Neon Love. So I usually do this with the ladies chorus, but so I'm going to have to do that. There we go.
That's right. Gail and I did that for you one of the times you read it. It was really cool.
Yeah, Neon Love. There we go. There is a time sometimes your lonely gloom is pierced. You see a face across the room. She will flash, illuminated from above. You're suddenly so empty. I call that neon love.
Neon love.
Neon love. I've been sending out my signals. Does that light the dash in you? Neon love. I've been fully charged with static since your grill came rolling through. Vacancy, my vacancy, I flash into your night. I'll take in your arms and trends and tendencies. My arms and rooms are warm and bright. Neon love. I ask now, where am I? Now that I can't see you, you left and broke my compass. Now my bearing isn't true. The lights, the tubes that light my heart are cold. The current won't pass through. Neon love. So you must touch my skin to let the current in. This neon love. I need your neon love. I'll put a mint on every pillow. I need your neon love. Should I freeze beneath the weeping willow? I need your neon love. There. So, someday you'll hear it with the ladies' chorus.
We will. It will be back in its full form.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Bob Whelan, do you have something you'd like to read?
I have a short one. It's a Sijo, S-I-J-O, which is a Korean form. It's kind of like a haiku. It's 3 lines, and every line has to have between 14 and 17 syllables. Okay, so here it goes. Half heeding the sound of raindrops, a man grabs an umbrella. A weeping woman clings to a banister. on the hallway stairs. Perched on a damp branch, the steadfast blackbird shakes water off its wings.
Oh. Oh, I like that.
I like all the extra syllables. We're dramatic.
Thank you.
Thank
Wonderful. All right, well, we do have one more thing to wrap up with. So I asked Harry, Harry's going to close, and I asked him to bring a poem by someone else that he'd like to share as a closer. And Harry, do you have something? Hope I muted you. Oh, you're still muted.
Harry, you're mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I chose the poem Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. They're coming out with a quarter with her face on it this week. And I just thought it was an odd thing, because when our society honors people, they do so in a grand way, but in some ways it misses the point. You know, I'm not sure a quarter is what she's to be esteemed, that's for sure. And I chose this poem because COVID is really bothering me now. Hold on one second. The COVID's very bothersome to me right now, and I think that this has a lot to say about what's going on. Hold on one second.
It's okay. Take a minute.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I get people bothering me. All right. It's called Still I Rise. I don't look at this as a racial poem or a Black poem. I look at it as a poem of a human being who's trying to overcome it. And that's the way I look at COVID right now for us and everybody. I want to keep going through that. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, and still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines, digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide. Welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. And I think we're all become slaves to the COVID mythology now. It's on TV every day, all day, everywhere I go. My doctor had a fighting match because a woman wouldn't get vaccinated, and she walked out on him yesterday. And he was so upset, he almost cried. And it's just something that I find that we have to rise above. And I think this poem tells us all we have to rise. And I want all of us here tonight to rise, because we'll get through this, that's for sure. But it's taken a toll, and we have to be clear about helping each other through the rest of it. And that's my inspirational poem.
Thank you.
I'm not sure about the diamonds in my thighs, but I'm going to work on that. I'll be working on that for a while, I think. So far, I don't see any, but it's okay.
Start with the soles of your shoes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right. Or the diamonds in your mind.
yeah. Wow.
Well, if we started out as carbon 2 years ago, I think we're all turned into diamonds at this point with the pressure, you know?
Oh, unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you, Harry. I love your poems. I love your presentation, your performance.
Thank you.
Really wonderful and a great way to finish up. Really felt positive tonight all the way around with everybody.
Thank everybody tonight, Mark. I had a ball, and we are all achieving greatness by just speaking out. Even a few of us tonight and this cold night, to speak out and say there's something to think about. We have things to think about and not let the pressures of the media take those thoughts away from us. We have a lot to think about and we have a lot to say. Let's keep saying it.
Great. Good. Well said. Well said.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
All right.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for everything.
Thanks to everybody for coming out to North Andover Poets Corner. If you do Facebook, look for us on Facebook. This summer, just keep it in your mind, we'll be back in person and hopefully at the Stevens Estate at Osgood Hill. And if not there, we'll be outdoors somewhere in person. So it's something that I'm looking forward to. Bob Whelan, do you have any outdoor plans in this summer?
I'm, there's two places we might be. One is Millbrook Park, and another is a garden behind the library. So something will show up that way.
Okay, good. I'm gonna look for that. Oh, actually, next month at Rockport Poetry is somebody.
Yes, I'm in negotiations at the moment.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, I hope Dan and Angela can manage to be our feature for next time. So we're just trying to settle it. We'll still be on Zoom.
Okay. All right. I'll look for the posting.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everybody, and have a real good night. Stay warm.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Thank everyone tonight for me.
Terry,
Thank you, Joan. Thank everybody. I appreciate it.
And that was Debbie.
yeah, thank
Oh,
you.
Debbie.
Dan here.
Debbie, we have to showcase you. We're gonna buy you a light. I got a light place you gotta ask
Thank you.
for.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll have a special group on light for you next time.
Yeah, I move around.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Terry.
Okay,
All right.
Debbie.
Good night.
Good night, Mark. Thank you.